Hi, welcome to the session. Today we're going to be looking at Michael Giacchino's Star Trek theme and how to recreate that using standard logic instruments. Giacchino is really good at using orchestral colors and textures and putting them together in a way that makes people really feel the emotion that he's trying to get, and his melodies are really good as well. Today we're going to try to recreate that kind of sound using Logic, even though Logic doesn't really have good standard orchestral instruments, but let's try. So here's the project for Star Trek, and you can notice that there's 2 meters in this song. There's 3/4 and 4/4 when it comes to this bar 33 here. Pull up the tempo window. You get 161 at the start and 155. So it actually slows down at the section where it gets big. Not the same section where it turns into 4/4. It's the section 4 bars after that where the main melody comes in, and you have a listen to that later. So let's have a listen to the whole track. So I actually cut the track short by a bit. So this section here I actually combined with the end just to make it about a minute and a bit. So yeah, the main theme comes in here, and that's where it actually slows down. I think you heard that earlier. So let's get to the tracks. Okay, we start off with an interesting 3/4 pattern, and it's Violas Staccato. And as you can see in the MIDI, they actually go from sort of softer MIDI to a louder MIDI. And yeah, here's how the pattern sounds. So you can see it sort of rises towards the end, which is very important because this whole section here is just a repeating pattern that slowly rises, and you can see some automation as well. Slowly rising here, drops a little bit, and for the violas as well. And sorry, these ones are not violas. These are actually violin staccato, but let's just go see the EXS24. It's under orchestral strings, viola staccato. That's the first track. And then you have this vibraphone, which is under keyboards, mallets, and vibraphone. And it's just a repeating pattern. It goes like that. It's a bit of that nice little mysterious type sound. And I'm going to skip this African kit because this Steinway piano, which is the classic factory acoustic piano, Steinway grand piano, is playing pretty much the same thing. And it's been sent to Reverb. That's large space halls, large hall. This is a pretty generic one. And together they sound like that. I like the piano because it gives a bit more weight. Vibraphone's a bit too light, and the piano sort of gives it. You can see that I just copied the pattern over. And for the African kit, it's just one particular percussion with a reverb sent out here, and of course bit of a slight bit of automation. Sounds like this. So you get the whole pattern put together. And then on the fourth bar, the violins start coming in. And it's actually a violin staccato. You can see orchestral strings, violins 1 staccato, sending out quite a generous reverb as well. And in this case, I put a channel EQ just to give it a bit more high end. And here's how it sounds without the channel EQ. So with the channel EQ, it's a little bit brighter because I turned up 4 dB at about 4,500 Hertz. I just wanted a bit more of the air coming in. And yeah, so that's how it goes together. And there's this interesting sound in the background, which sounds a bit like an overblown flute. So I actually use a flute under Orchestral Woodwinds Flutes Plus. And if you take out the tremolo, it just sounds like this. So it's like the theme. And with the tremolo, I wanted to give it that sort of otherworldly feel, which you can hear in the song as well. So you hear, okay, I just set the rate to something pretty high. So there's the warble, the smoothing is in the middle, and depth is not so deep, and you get this. Pretty cool, huh? And if you put all of them together, it sounds like this. And this is the second section now with an orchestral kit. You can see an orchestral percussion orchestral kit, just to give it that. So it goes. And here's where the basses come in, which is under orchestral strings, basses legato. I doubled them just to give it a bit more weight. So here's how they sound. Just these long lines, and the violas actually play this line. And it's doubled by a flute solo line. You can see I copied over, that's why the name is the same. Sounds, and the flute solo is actually under Orchestral Woodwinds Flute Solo Staccato. So together they sound like that. I find that doubling adds a bit more depth to the line. So, and that's probably how Giacchino did it as well. So there's everything together. And then you can see a French horn creeping in. It's actually a pretty light thing. Sort of a bit of a harmony. And the French horn you can find in orchestral brass French horns legato, with of course a lot of reverb, all going to the same reverb on bus 1. And you can see that there's a little bit of automation just right at the end. So it goes kind of like that. So you can hear that little horn line just right at the bottom. And everything sort of gets bigger. You see the violas now kind of go, let's highlight all of them. They sound like that before. So right before the big accents over here, you can see that sort of gets fatter. Even the basses here has a, under orchestral strings, basses staccato, you get a pattern like that. So it already sets the pattern for the big bits because the rhythm pum 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 pum, it's kind of there already, with some French horns as well. And this is a staccato, so an orchestral brass French horn staccato. And horns, you always need good reverb, so please send it to the reverb, and it sounds like that. So there's a lot of harmonies going on here, and Giacchino is really good at it. I'm not covering all the ground and just simplifying everything, but it kind of gets the sound. And just right before it goes to this big section here, there's a French horn crescendo, which I always find sounds great under orchestral brass, French horns crescendo. Just a chord. Yep. Sorry, that's not the right one. It's this one. It's very majestic, and put together it sounds like that. So that big hit section, I think, relies a lot on timpani, and I like timpani. It's very, regal. It gives a very big sound. Orchestral tune percussion, timpani, single strokes. So you take the timpani section at first. The first one is just a small light one, just to lead it in, and then you get it over here. So all these things are playing in unison. The basses, the French horn staccatos, the timpani, and the European folk hit, which is so that creates a kind of weight about it. And European folk hit, as usual, I really like this. You can find it under World European folk hit. It's got some of the big sounds, kind of like timpani type sounds as well. So feel free to combine different big drum sounds to create a bit more dynamism about it, because these samples, they're very repetitive. So it's good to sort of have layer them. And I think a bit of flamming would have helped as well. So here's how that sounds. So everything's sort of playing unison, even the violas. So you get that strength. And then you get all these different like timpanis and orchestral kits and European folk kits working together on. So you got a nice big sound like this. And then here, with a big crash, is where the main theme comes in. And Logic isn't particularly great at those real orchestral sounds, but I tried with this. I think you can automate it more to give it a little bit more life. But the main ones are the viola staccato, legato, under orchestral strings, violas legato. And then you have your French horns legato from before. So these guys are playing the main melody, and this is playing the bass, right? So your bass legato. And it sounds like that, just with the three of them. I really like the harmonies already, but what really helps is to have some sort of EXS strings, which I really like because they're a bit airy. Let's see, this one is under orchestral strings. Oh, sorry, this is not EXS strings, it's full strings legato. I initially used EXS strings and then I swapped over because I found this one to be smoother. So they're providing a bit of the low end. They're very close voicings, as you can see. And the brass as well is actually using the exact same voicings. So if you put them together, kind of fatten everything up. And this is another line. It's a trumpet line, so you can find it under orchestral brass trumpets legato. Lots of reverb as well for brass. So it's very big, very regal. You need all these sections to play together to really get that weight about it, and supported by the strings and the brass over here. And there's also a tuba, and the low line is very similar to what the bass is playing. So all these are sort of supporting the melody. If you wanted to, you could automate them just to give them a bit more dynamism about it. There's a little cello pluck here right at the end before the next section. And there's a crescendo as well, which I really like to end to the next section. So it kind of goes like that. At the end section, you get some quite big sort of sounds. So you get this trombone legato, which is under orchestral brass trombones legato, and then you have the violin tremolo, and this one has a nice little automation to raise the volume. Really leading up to the end bit over there. And yeah, so you get that. And that crescendo is carried quite a bit by the French horns. And you can see that it goes from very light to really heavy. And here's how it sounds. So you get that kind of weight together with the European folk kit. You can see that it's thicker here. So you see if you play those two together, you can really feel the sort of build up together with the tremolo violins. And the orchestral kit as well comes into play here. You can see that it gets heavier. So it goes. Well, the original song goes on as well. So this is just a sort of hit that I put over here. And that's it. I hope you learned something useful today. Logic's palette of orchestral sounds isn't particularly wide, but I think we did a fairly good job of creating Giacchino type sounds. If you like the project, you can download it at the link below, and if you like the videos, please subscribe for more. See ya!